Enough Said is brought to you by Sheldon Street Pizza. Visit them online at sheldonstreetpizza.com or stop by Sheldon's during your next trip to Lake Orion. Sheldon Street Pizza, the official pizza of Enough Said. And by Fourth Coast Cider Works. Quality craftsmanship, quality hard cider. You can check them out online at fourthcoastciderworks.com or come get a can or a howler at their Canterbury Village location. Not available for anyone under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly. Saginaw Valley State won the Axe Bowl over Northwood 35-14 this past Saturday. The Axe remains red and will be staying in Saginaw for another season. The Cardinals are now 3-0, and I caught up with head coach Ryan Brady on Thursday just as his team was getting ready to cross the Mackinac Bridge into Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The Cardinals are in Houghton this Saturday as they take on Michigan Tech. My conversation with head coach Ryan Brady starts now. You told me last week that Northwood is the game on the schedule, and now that you've won the last 4 meetings, what does this winning streak mean to you personally?
Yeah, it means a lot, obviously, having grown up in this area, born and raised in Saginaw County, and, known about the Axe Bowl my whole life. So to be a part of that tradition and that rivalry is humbling. And then to have been fortunate enough now to have been a part of 3 wins in a row here as the head coach it's special.
So this game saw another huge performance from your defense. 6 sacks, a pick, and a fumble. But I got to tell you, the biggest eye-opening stat of them all, when I was looking at the stat sheet, Northwood ran the ball 30 times in this game for only 25 yards. What was it like for you to see that stat after the game?
Yeah, obviously it's very pleasing seeing the defensive line and front 7 dominant up front like that. That's where it starts for us. I mean, that's what we want to be. Is we want to be a team that's known for stopping the run. And we were really solid in 2021 stopping the run. But we're really excited about this group. We got a lot of guys back from last year that have all, spent a year in the weight room and have aged and matured. And so we're seeing the results of that development.
One of your biggest contributors on defense in this game was junior Jacob Dorn. He had 2.5 of those sacks that you guys picked up on Saturday. How pleased were you with his contributions?
Just very happy for Jake. He's worked extremely hard. He just recovered from a torn ACL. And just to watch him rehab in the manner that he has over the last year has just been incredible. And so he had a couple sacks, like literally at his fingertips against Bowie State. And so me and him kind of were talking about it. And I said, "Oh, man, you're going to get your first sack this week." And he's like, "Oh, Coach, I'm just so close." And I said, "Oh, don't worry, it'll happen." And then literally on the first play of the game, he got a sack and, got up and gave me a look and, flexed his arms. And, I said, just keep going after him. And he obviously had a great game.
Clearly getting that first play out of the way really fired him up and got him that second one. We have talked for 2 weeks in a row now about players that you've had on your roster that have had to bounce back from serious injuries and are now making tremendous strides and contributions to your team. What does that say about the grit and determination of your squad?
Yeah, it's just our culture. Our culture is to earn it, and we just have a blue-collar mentality here. And so, we have 6 core values that drive our program, and the number one, it starts with effort, the kind of effort we want to use day in, day out. It's a championship effort. We want to outwork everyone. And then we combine that with a championship attitude and a championship mentality. And then we talk about respect an awful lot in our program and the way we treat people. But the end and earn is just to never give up. And our kids are extremely resilient here. And then the I in it's intentional, and then the T is together. And so that's what it means to earn it. And our kids are demonstrating, our core values and our culture every single day here. And it's been a lot of fun so far.
Getting back to Jake, when did you first notice him and want to make him a part of this program?
Well, he was here when I got here, and so I knew about Jake. He's from St. John's High School, which is not far from my hometown in Chesaning, and so I was aware of Jake, and Jake was going to be probably a Division I player. He was a MAC caliber player coming out of high school, and then he tore his ACL in high school, and so his recruiting kind of fell off a little bit. And he ended up at Saginaw, but he's recovered from 3 ACL injuries, and so here he is, 23 years old, and he's a junior on the field. He still has 1 more year after this if he wants it. He's about 3/4 of the way done with his master's degree, and he's just an unbelievable worker in person, and I'm really happy for him. He started here at Saginaw as a true freshman the year before I got here, and then my first season he broke his hand and played with a broken hand in the club. His redshirt sophomore year, and then then we had the pandemic, and then he tore his ACL, and so it's been a long haul for him. It's been a couple of years since he's been on the field, but boy, is all the hard work paying off. He looks great out there.
This guy has an unbelievable passion for this game. To come back from 3 ACLs and a broken hand, what do you admire most about that?
I really admire his leadership and his toughness. I mean, he just pushes everybody in the building. But just the way that he works, and just his standard is so high. And so he's just holding guys accountable for everything. I mean, when the clock struck 0 at the end of the second quarter last week against Northwood, I mean, before we even were walking in the locker room, he brought the whole team up on his own and just started just laying into everybody that we weren't playing up to our standard, and being up 14-7 at half, wasn't good enough. And this is the kind of person he is, and that's he's a huge leader for us.
I'm sure you're happy for all your guys for that opportunity to keep the Axe red and at Saginaw Valley State. But did it mean just a little bit more to see a guy like Dorn make the contributions that he did and be such a key contributor to the win?
Oh, without question. To see, it's just great to see young people overcome adversity and adapt to adversity. And I've seen so many of my guys. Noah Suber is another guy who was second team all conference last year. He tore his ACL, and him and Jake and Nick Whiteside, AC Williams, all of those guys had to overcome serious injuries to get back, and to see them now playing at the level that they're playing at, and to see them all rehab and make it back way ahead of schedule. It's awesome. I'm just so proud of those guys.
Now, last week, you made some comparisons between your quarterback, Andrew Brito, and Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not sure who benefited more from that comparison, because just you saying that has really sent some good vibes to both of those guys. Kyler Murray had that insane comeback against Vegas this past Sunday, but then your guy, quarterback Anthony Brito, was named the GLIAC Offensive Player of the Week. He threw for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he ran for another 110 yards on the ground, scored another touchdown on the ground. How thrilled are you to see him stand out as the top offensive guy in the GLIAC?
He obviously played really well, which is not surprising to me, because I've seen what he can do, every day in practice. And so, it was only a matter of time until he got to put his arm and his legs on display there. He hasn't had to do much in the first 2 weeks, because we've just been so dominant running the football. And our offensive line has been so dominant. But, Andrew really gives our offense an edge. He's definitely a difference maker, and he was a big difference maker on Saturday. And he created some big plays, and those big plays proved to be like a big key component to winning that game on Saturday. I thought Northwood did a very nice job. They had a good game plan. I thought they executed well, and they definitely hung around. And so, the game was a lot closer than what the score indicated. And, the game was stressful throughout for me, probably until about the middle of the fourth, when I think Andrew pulled it on a big, long zone read run. And, I took it to the house for 61 yards. That really kind of cracked it open.
Like you said, this game was a little bit closer than the scoreboard might have indicated, but you guys have done a tremendous job lighting up the scoreboard in your first 3 games. You are averaging right now 49 points a game. You guys are really clicking right now on offense. What's been working well for you guys on that unit?
Yeah, it all starts up front. Our offensive line and our tight ends have been tremendous. And then we've got a three-headed monster at running back. And then obviously we're getting productive play from the quarterbacks. But, we've only turned the ball over one time in the first 3 games. And that's just critically important. If you can take care of the football and you can finish drives with touchdowns, that's huge. But we've had great balance, and we've been very efficient on offense. And so those have been some of the keys to our success early on.
And certainly the pollsters have taken notice of what you guys are doing. You are ranked this week in the American Football Coaches Association Top 25 Division II poll. You guys are polling in right now at number 19. How are you guys reacting to that spot?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it one time. So I know one thing, they're really locked in on Michigan Tech. Last year we went up to Michigan Tech the last game of the regular season up there in Houghton, and lost 21-20, and definitely left. It was definitely a bittersweet ending to what we thought was potentially going to be an 8-3 campaign and potentially a playoff berth. And so this one's got that Bowie State feel for us. Our kids have had this one circled on the calendar for since we walked off that field last year. So it's been a great week of practice. Our guys are locked in, and we're ready to chase the wolf.
I was just going to ask you all of that, and you took care of that for me, because I remember looking at what happened at last year's game, how they played spoiler to a lot of your guys' plans last season. How much of that has been talked about this week in practice?
Yeah, we haven't had to talk much about it, but I can tell it's on our players' minds. I mean, they've been the energy level today at practice was really good, and it was a lot of fun out there for the coaches. I must have had 3 different coaches say, "Man, that was fun today," and I'm like, "Yeah, it was," just because our kids are so locked in, and you guys are ready to go. But there's just a lot of players in this team that played in that game last year that didn't play up to their standard, and so it's made them better players. Because a lot of them have had to look in the mirror and say, wow, that they disappointed themselves. And so I expect us to play, one of our best games this season on this Saturday.
Well, certainly you can't overlook a Michigan Tech just because they've lost their last 2 games. You know you're going to have to really go in there and stay focused on the task at hand. What is kind of the mindset as you guys get ready to go into Houghton and face this team? What are some things that you're going to have to be always aware of?
Yeah, well, they played 2 really good opponents. Last week they played Midwestern State. That's one of the best teams in the Lone Star Conference in Division II in Texas. Which is Midwestern State and Commerce are, trading conference championships every other year. So that was a big road game. They led for 49 minutes in that game and really lost in the last seconds. So it was a heartbreaking defeat for them. But I thought they controlled and dominated the game. And then the week before that, they traveled all the way to St. Thomas, Minnesota. They're an FCS team. And they're a powerhouse, and so they played 2 really good opponents. It's a really good Michigan Tech team. They're very disciplined. This is like going and playing Iowa, Northwestern. I mean, that's what we're doing. We got to take a road trip, and we got to go play a team that's extremely disciplined, hard-nosed, and physical. And so, last year we knew that and went up there, and we just didn't play our best. We made some mistakes, and got to credit Tech. They took advantage and made some plays. They scored 2 touchdowns last year on, a 4th and 11 and a 4th and 26. So that's obviously disappointing. When you lose by a point and you give up touchdowns, kind of in those situations. But you got to give Tech credit. So we got to go up there and take care of the football, and we got to tackle well. I didn't think we tackled very well a year ago. But it's always tough, man. You cross the bridge, you're down 10. I mean, that's just just the way it is when you're playing in the UP up at Northern Michigan or at Michigan Tech. Those are tough road games, long road trips, and both of those schools play really well at home. And so you're going to have to be prepared. And, they're a smart, well-coached, disciplined football team. So they're going to have to beat them. So our plan's going to be to go attack them. We want to go and attack them and get after them.
Speaking of road trips, you guys are getting to go to one of my favorite places ever, and that is the UP. I pretty much have fallen in love with every aspect of the Upper Peninsula. It's a long road trip, but it's also one where you get to see the UP at a time when the leaves are changing and the atmosphere is changing out there. What are those road trips like to the UP?
Yeah, they're great. It's like being on vacation, honestly, with your team and your coaches and your players. I'm on the bus right now, and I'm looking out at the leaves and the trees right now. We're almost to the bridge, and so we make this a 2-day trip and break it up because this is how important this trip is. So we're taking the extra time, and we'll walk through at Marquette High School tomorrow, and usually we'll stop at Northern Michigan and go and walk through, and they're indoor, and we'll be in the dome and just kind of take it all in, but it's definitely great. It's definitely a great trip coming up here. It's definitely a good experience for our guys, and we have a lot of fun when we cross the bridge.
It is going to be a great trip for you, but there's some work involved in this little mini vacation for you, so you're going to have to do a lot to get the job done this weekend. Coach Ryan Brady, thank you so much for making the call as you are about to cross the Mackinac Bridge, the Mighty Mac. I hope you guys have a great time up there, and we'll be scoreboard watching, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks, Steph. I appreciate you having me on.
Want more on Saginaw Valley State football? Then head to my website, aduffsaid.com. For all things A Duff Said, you can listen on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts.